Hi, this is Stacy with Lily Bean Crafts by Stacy. Welcome back. And if it's your first time, thanks for stopping by. Okay, so this tutorial is going to be a little bit different than any other that I've done. I'm starting off with a 24-ounce plump. That is one of the Chroma Shift ones that I got from the Tipsy Magnolia. I had tried a technique on it. It didn't work, so I sanded it and I accidentally sanded the Chroma Shift off. I did have some of that Rust-Oleum Imagine spray paint, which is what has this beautiful sparkly, like dark teal look. I went ahead and I spray painted it and let it dry. If you have the Chroma Shift, don't need to do that. So I'm immediately going in with 10 mLs of my Flynn Sisters Fast Set Epoxy. I am going to be doing a peekaboo next, and I just want to protect this color because it's so beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to let this spin for 4 hours until it is completely dry, and then I'm going to start working on a peekaboo. So I went ahead and printed off of my Cricut a leopard print, and this is one that I just got off of Creative Fabrica. I'll link it in the description. I'm using my this vinyl here that I can't stand, this stencil vinyl. I'm trying to use it up, so I'm going to go ahead and just print that out, and then I'm just going to go ahead and weed it here, and I'm going to put the leopard spots kind of like in a swirl pattern on here, not the entire tumbler, just like a swirl. It was just going to be a portion. I'm making this tumbler for one of my best friends, and she loves the colors of the Chroma Shift, and she also loves purple, so my plan was to do something really creative that would be really great to make a tutorial, and everything went truly sideways from the very beginning. I almost feel like I was jinxed right away because I messed this tumbler up in the first place, and it was just meant to be a challenge. So anyways, I'm going ahead here and I'm just putting on these leopard spots, I only put so many of them on. Like I said, I wanted a swirl. So now for the parts that haven't been filled in, I'm just going to go ahead and put them on just each individually. And once I have that all done, I'm going to be taking it outside to spray paint it. Well, Color Shot spray paint has these different kind of spray paints out, and I wanted to spray paint it with this one called Bubble. I shook the can for 2 minutes. I made sure it was warm in my garage, and I'm not exactly sure what happened. This makes it so that it's translucent so you can see underneath it. So I wanted to still see that color, but I just wanted it to have a sheen on it. But for some reason, I got these little dots over the entire thing. So I wasn't really sure what to do. And I didn't want to, clean it off and start over again. I wanted to stick with this plan that I had in my head. So I was like, I'll just do a power wash. I did not videotape the power wash because at this point in time, I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to keep this tumbler going for a tutorial. So I will link how I do the power wash from one of my other tutorials in my description, so that if you do decide that you want to do that, you can. I basically just did white right over the bubble, and I like the way that it looks, so I was like, okay, let's start getting a little bit more creative with this. So what I'm going to do now is I am putting another 10 mLs of my Flynn Sisters Fast Set Epoxy, and I did put some of my Grace Microfine glitter in here, and I'm going to go ahead and let this spin for another 4 hours and start powwowing in my head where I'm going to go with this next. At this point in time, I'm going to tell you that this is not a tutorial. I'm not teaching you this technique. I'm actually showing you me trying a technique that I have never done before. So I am not teaching this by any means. The girlfriend that I'm making this for came to me one day and said, have you ever seen 4daughtersdesigns.jen on TikTok? She makes these tumblers that have this technique called a stinger. I think that's what it's called. And it is absolutely fascinating to watch, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And I told her that I had never tried the technique, but I was so wanting to. So while I was putting things together, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to try that. So I put 10 mLs of my fast set epoxy on here, so that is already spinning. Now I'm grabbing a couple of different things, and I wound up not using them all. But I did grab my Lumiere acrylic paints that are the holographic shift in purple and in a teal. That's one there. And I mixed that with some epoxy. I'm also going to take some of my white pigment dye and I'm going to mix that with some epoxy, just like I did with my Milky Way last week. And I am going to just start placing this and just seeing how this goes. I really expected to be throwing this tumbler away. I did not expect it to go in the direction that it did. I'm shocked that it worked. I'm glad it did. But once again, I'm not teaching you this. I'm just showing you me actually trying something for the first time. So I'm just going in and making some stripes. A little bit heavy on the epoxy because I wanted to do that little swirly thing. Also, I don't know how she gets it so that it doesn't like trail onto the tumbler. I mean, obviously she does it all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and link her TikTok on here too so that you can take a look at it because it's just absolutely fascinating. She goes live all the time. So I'm just kind of like putting some lines on here and trying this out. And once I have it lined up, then I'm going to go start going over it with the white epoxy dye. Now I'm finally getting it to the point where I've got a lot of the dye on here. And I know that once I start doing any swirl work or like making what she calls a stinger look, once I start that, I can't add more. So I just wanted to make sure I had enough. So I got this little silicone brush, set, and I started off, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start making the stinger, and then I was like, well, let me just start swirling this. This is not the way she swirls it. I'm not exactly sure how she does it, and I'm literally at this point in time, again, saying, okay, this is going to be going into the garbage, and I just kept messing with it, and trying it, and going out of my comfort zone and trying something new. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I just kept working with it and turning the spinner until I got to the point where I was like, you know what, this might actually work. Out at this point that I took a video of it and sent it to my girlfriend, and she told me she absolutely loved it, so I decided to keep it. And yeah, it's a little sloppy looking, but I think it looks really good for being the first one that I've ever done. And I really like it with the leopard spots and the peekaboo and the power wash. Like, it just all comes together. So once I have this all on here, I am going to go ahead and let this dry. And then I'm going to sand it down and put another 10 mLs of my fast set epoxy on here. Now what I'm doing is I am taking a metallic pen. I normally use Posca pens, but I do not have a Posca pen in silver. And I am just drawing on some outlines because I was not going to make outlines for this because that would have been a whole thing. So I just decided to just draw on my outlines. Once I have them all done, I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it with some clear spray paint so that it is all sealed, and then move on to the next step. Did get these really cool Q-tips that like have a pointed tip on them that are for like makeup artists and things like that, or maybe nail techs. And I got those because I do a lot of painting now with tumblers, and I like to be able to take some alcohol and like wipe things off. So I'm using that, and I just finished all that up. Like I said, once I have this done, I'm going to spray paint it and then get the final coats of epoxy on and work on a glitter butt. And now I'm going in with another 10 mLs of my fast set epoxy. I'll go ahead and let this dry completely. And then I did put in the tutorial how I did the glitter butt on this one. I decided that I was going to show you how I clean up my bottoms before I do the glitter butt. I just like the look of this so much more. I put a brand new blade on my X-Acto knife, and I'm just very carefully going around the bottom of it and just taking off any of the epoxy that bled over from all the epoxy coats. And if it does happen to like slip and like scratch the tumbler, it still needs one more coat. It still needs its final coat of the Artist Cure resin. So you're totally fine here, but I like to clean that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a paintbrush, and I'm going to take one of my pop-up color paints, the Muted Plum, and I'm going to go ahead and just paint the inner circle of the glitter butt and let that dry, and then we'll start working on the UV resin and the glitter. So for the outer rim, I'm going to go in with Wonderland from Rae Creations, put some, get that going around the outer rim, which I thought I videotaped, and I did not. And so I already have the outer rim all done, but for the inner rim, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my UV resin and mix in Violet from Rae Creations and just put this all around. Once I have it done, I'm going to pop any bubbles and put it under my UV lamp for 1 minute. Once it comes back out of the lamp, I'm going to go ahead and put another coat on and build it up and do the exact same thing. Make sure I have it all around, pop the bubbles, and get it under my UV lamp. I like to do it in smaller steps so that it doesn't take so long for it to dry. And now that it's back out again, I'm going in with my final UV coats here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. It will take me 3 coats of the UV resin to get this finished up. Once again, because I don't like to, pile it on completely all in one step. Here I'm just checking to make sure that there's no empty spots or dry spots, and I'm popping the bubbles. I'll put it under for a minute, and I'll do that 2 more times. Now I did sand it again, and now I'm going in with my final 10 mLs of my Flynn Sisters Artist Cure resin. This is what's going to give that shine. And I'm really impressed with how it all came together. Like I said, I really thought I was going to be throwing this away. And then I talked to a couple other friends, and they were like, you should still make a tutorial on this, like showing that not all things just work out the way that you plan on it. And here is the finished product. She loves it. It's really cool. Like all the colors really came together. The glitter butt, because I got to have glitter on it. And yeah, so that's how this all came together. If you like this tutorial, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.